Hello and welcome in to Mayday. We're back here on March 3rd, 2025 with a brand new edition of Mayday. JBB, you're the first one in here. Thank you so much for your subscription of 2 months. That's very nice of you. Very kind. I'm excited about today's show. I have a lot of fun things to talk about, to get into. We got some new assets on the show. If you are brand new here on the Foul Territory channel, make sure you subscribe because they're almost to 100,000 subscribers. I am Trevor May. This show is half on Mayday, half on Foul Territory Network. The second hour will be on my channel, Trevor May Baseball. So once we get pushed, I'll see you over there, and make sure you subscribe there as well. Yeah, it's been a wonderful week of baseball, wonderful week of just sports in general, but the internet has been, hot like normal, and we are going to talk about quite a few of those things. A lot of you may have seen Travis Hunter recently was asked some questions at the NFL Combine. If you don't know who Travis Hunter is, you've probably been under a rock, but he is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in college football this last year, and he is a very good secondary corner and very good wide receiver. Played both sides of the ball, and I bet you can imagine where I'm going to go with this because you see another guy in this picture, another guy who does things on both sides of the ball. Shohei Ohtani. When asked, do you think it is harder to be a two-way player in football or be a two-way player in baseball? Travis Hunter said something that is on my list somewhere. Wow, interesting. Travis Hunter basically just said, you know what? Shohei Ohtani is an amazing player. He's a freak athlete. However, I think what I do is more difficult. Now, as you can imagine, the internet had its own little field day with that comment. I will say this. I don't agree. So let's start there. I don't fully agree only because it's not like I'm a big football player. I played football until I was a freshman in high school and then quit because I didn't like handing the ball off every single play. And my high school never threw the ball because we were old school. And they still are. But that's neither here nor there. What Travis does is play defense and offense, okay, in football. It's hard on your body. That's the point he made. It's tough on your body. It's not playing the entire game, not getting a rest is really hard. All valid points. Though, his coach for his team has literally been quoted as saying, as we all know, it's primetime Deion Sanders, a man who played both in the NFL and the MLB, is quoted as saying, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing there is to do in sports. And that is one of the two things that Shohei Ohtani does. So do I agree that it's much harder on your body? Yes. In terms of impact and ability to get devastating injuries, 1,000%. Breaking you down faster, 10,000%. Pitching and hitting is a slow grind. Baseball is a different sport, right? Instead of playing 16 games, you play 160. You play 10 games for every one of football. So you just slowly wear your body down. Now, when you're on both sides of the field, you're playing every single baseball game, either whether or not you're pitching or you're hitting. That'll wear you down in different ways. So they are very different. But the hand-eye coordination involved in baseball, in my opinion, makes doing both of these things, being this elite at both of these things, I think, is the most impressive thing I think there is in sports. I don't know. Like the fact that Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson could even play both is incredible. It just shows how amazing athletes they are. But I will say there is one caveat that we don't have a ton of two-way players go to the NFL and play both sides of the ball, like all the time, right? Like all defense plays, all offensive plays, and he won't either because that's just ridiculous. You're exhausted. You're sprinting around. It's just there's no way. There's not enough energy in the world to get you through that. But being a corner, specifically being a corner, so hard. Like I don't like being a corner. Would be so annoying and frustrating for me. Like they know where they're going, but you don't, and you just got to guess. Just be more athletic against like the most athletic guys on their team. It just sucks. So if you can be a good corner, you are. I just think that good corners are like the next level smartest like players on the field outside of quarterbacks. So it's impressive that he can do that. So I think it's closer, but maybe I'm biased. I am biased. It's baseball. Shohei Ohtani. It's just there are so few people that can even hit or pitch. The fact that you do both and do them at a top 5 level is I'm speechless. I am speechless. All right. Moving hither. I just want to know what you think. So let me know down in the chats, because I need to know. I need your guys' backup on this one, because I've been kind of going hard on this. I went hard on the radio, and now I'm going hard on it on my show. I also got a new mug today. You're muted. No, I'm not. Before we get into the rest of our news of the day, don't forget, guys, Mayday is a podcast as well. Subscribe to it anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if just in case you can't catch the show live, you can catch the major, big, juicy nuggets in the same places that you listen to anything that's foul territory related. Mayday is also there, as well as Cut on the Diamond, a brand new podcast where I sit down one-on-one with players and chat about baseball and tell stories. It's a blast. Our first episode was Tommy Hunter. It was incredible. So go check that out as well. Same thing. It's everywhere. And upcoming, the next few episodes we have coming up are Tyler Glasnow, Trevor Plouffe, and Rich Hill. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Question from the audience. And this one I thought was really, really good because let's make that a little bigger for you. This one was great. And it comes from Brian Schoenweiler. Sorry, Brian. I talked to Crazy Cal quite a bit on the old Twitter, but he had a great question. Can you explain what dead arm is? Because this is a really important. This is something you hear a lot, mostly in spring training. Dead arm, and it's more likely to occur in spring training or the dog days of summer. It's much more likely to occur in the dog days of summer. So let me just hit you with the 2-piece answer here, real quick. And by the way, guys, I let people ask questions in the community a lot. If you ever want to get your question on the screen during a show, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you go into the Discord, join it, obviously, join the Discord, and put your comment. You can put your question in, questions for Trevor. It might make it in the show, or just, tweet it at me. Or write in the comments of a YouTube video or something. Just ask the question wherever you think that you can get a hold of me. But the best way, the 100% chance that I will see it is in Discord. So I'm always looking for this stuff. So if you have questions outside of the show, make sure you ask them. Okay, so dead arm. What dead arm is not, it's not really a medical term. What it is as you are getting in shape, but you're not giving yourself, you're not regimenting rest where that area gets to just do nothing for a day or two. Once your body, your body's response to saying, hey, I'm not going to put any more energy into that area until I rest. It's really common to guys. Like, I had it when I came off Tommy John. I actually came off Tommy John surgery. I was activated for 6 days. I got dead arm, and my shoulder, it was just achy. It's like not even soreness. It's like it's almost like lethargic. Like one of your appendages doesn't want to be there that day. Right. And so sometimes you just got to take 3 days off and then it goes away. And that's most of the time what happens. It happens in spring training a lot because you can only ramp yourself up to a certain level of intensity without actually being in camp and seeing live professional hitters. Like, no matter what you do, it's really hard to convince your brain that you're in a life or death situation and throwing 100%. Now, guys like Jake DeGrom, he's throwing 100. If he's lobbing it, it's 100. If he's throwing as hard as he can, it's 101. Like, those guys are freaks. I was a guy who couldn't throw more than 90 in a bullpen, and then the first pitch in the game would be 96. Like, it's just the way it was. I had to put myself there. So the same thing kind of happens. You get into spring, you think you're in shape, the intensity goes up, and then your arm's like, yo, you have not rested enough. My arm, we're going too fast. And so I need a couple days off. That's what dead arm is, and that's why it happens all the time in spring training. And that's where you see it a lot, especially for like starting pitchers or relievers that are people that are trying to make the team and like got in really good shape before they went to spring. Spring is actually for you to continue getting in shape. I was never a big fan of like being in season shape on day one of spring training in February, because then you're just adding you're tacking on a month and a half of full speed onto your already 6-month season. It's just too much. So that is what dead arm is. That's a phenomenal question, Brian. Thank you so much for hitting us with that. I like that one. It's really, really good. I got some smart people in this community. So again, hit me with your questions as you get them, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get your question on this show. All right, let's get in to just a scooch of news, because we are in spring training. There are games going, and there are things that happening. So my goal moving forward here, because some of this stuff is ongoing and being fleshed out as we go, I want to quickly hit the news, because you're getting news everywhere and everyone does news. So lots of things have happened this week in baseball. Let's get right into it. Now, Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve moved to left field, played his first game out there where he gets a little play. He gets his first attempt at a throw at home. Doesn't really work out, but overall, not too bad. And then there was a ball up against the fence that he made a nice little play on. For those of you that don't know, this was a change that they thought about making earlier in this spring. He's getting some reps out there, and by all accounts, he looked pretty okay. Not too bad. But as they say, whenever the new guy gets put out in the field, the ball will find you, and the ball did find him. But so far, so good there. Also in more news, we have Max Scherzer facing Trey Turner, and you know what? They have fun. As a lot of you guys know, last week in Max's last start, he made a little bit of a controversial take on whether or not he thought that the ABS we needed it, right? Can't we just be judged by human beings? And I get it. But Trey Turner did not hold back in his opportunity to give Max a little ribbon. Here's the first pitch to him, and he decided to challenge that thing, which that gets me, gives him a little smirk here. First pitch of the game, just a nice fastball away. Let's see where that thing was located, and it's perfect. God bless it. Everyone has fun. We love baseball. We're having a good time, and even Max Scherzer can have some fun from time to time. Look at him smiling as he goes through his rotation, his windup there. Always fun out there. I thought that was great. It's so funny too, because the Phillies, yeah, use one of our two for the game, the first pitch of the game, and they have fun. So I loved it. More of that stuff, please. More of that. Also, Paul Skeens. We've talked about him last week, adding 2 new pitches, a cutter and a sinker. He was in action this week, and we got to see them. We got to see him actually use them. He's been working on the cutter and the running 2-seam fastball across 3 innings in Pittsburgh's 5-2 win over the Orioles. Skeens struck out 4, allowed 4 hits, issued 1 walk, and allowed 1 run. And guess what? He threw 99 miles an hour a lot. Surprise! Paul Skeens throws real hard. If you missed Sirius XM Radio was in Pirates camp last week, you can go back if you have the Sirius XM app and go listen to our show. There were some great interviews from him. The guy is amazing. I'm going to gush about him all year, so I apologize. He's probably going to make an appearance in the show quite a bit. I am a pitching guru. I love pitching, and he is kind of as good as it gets. He's 22 years old. He's younger than Jared Jones. I did not know that till yesterday. But the way he speaks and the way he approaches getting ready for the season and improving is, he sounds like he's a 33-year-old who's been in the league for a decade. And that is just impressive. But so far, so good for Paul Skeens. Mets prospect Blade Tidwell. Sorry, guys, I have a little bit of a system that I am still working the kinks out on. Prospect Blade Tidwell announces himself with a rare immaculate inning. The holy grail of relief pitchers. If you don't know what an immaculate inning is, it's when you throw 9 strikes and get 3 strikeouts and the inning's over. You cannot have a foul. Well, you can't have foul balls. That's actually not a rule. But you can't throw a ball. I've thrown a 10-pitch inning once. against the Phillies. But also, one of the guys was a pitcher, so it doesn't really count. However, it's not about me. It's about this man. He throws an immaculate inning, 9 straight pitches, 9 straight strikeouts, excuse me. And it capped off a 2-inning, 5-strikeout, 16-pitch hitless outing. So not only did he throw an immaculate 9 pitches, he only threw 7 pitches and got 2 strikeouts in the other inning. So that's about as good as you can get. Tidwell is an arm to watch in the Mets farm system following, Brandon Sproat, who's going to make a appearance in this show a little bit later as well. But I like to see it, and I went and watched it. It's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Congratulations, Blade. You did something we always want to do. Everyone wants to do, especially me, starting pitcher Trevor. Next up, we have a brand new breaking news. Jose Quintana reportedly signing a 1-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. Are they going to do it again? It seems like they are. Jose Quintana, a nice little piece, eats innings, throws strikes. That's what they get there. Now, I know I ranked them at like 28th or 27th. I think they pushes him up into the mid-20s in pitching. There's way more depth. Having him is just, the depth just went up way higher. So adding a guy like that is a great pickup for them. He's quality. He's going to throw you. You're going to get 5 innings out of him, and every once in a while he's going to throw an 8 shutty. So that is good for the old Brewers and Brewers fans. Always great to have a little bit more depth in your starting rotation. Bad news for Braves fan. Sean Murphy has a fractured rib and will be out at least for weeks. So that, you probably count him out. Not probably. He's going to be on the IL to start the year. Rib injuries, don't red flag it too much. It's kind of like obliques and stuff. It's just rotational. Things like that can be either really bad or not so bad. But for the most part, I think baseball players handle rib injuries and like core injuries better than some other sports because we're so used to focusing on it. So, but not something you want, especially now that Travis d'Arnaud is gone. So it looks like they're going to be leaning on possibly top prospect Drake Baldwin to replace Murphy behind the plate to start the year. So they went from 2 veteran guys to a rookie. Not usually the best sign when you need a rookie catcher to start the season, but the guy's a stud evidently. So can't wait to see what he does. Jake DeGrom's back. So it's a happy time in baseball world. It's a happy time in baseball world. Guys, I see your resubs, and I will hit them right at the end of the news. Thank you so much. Jake DeGrom threw a live BP, faced 8 hitters. Of the 25 pitches he threw, 14 were for strikes. Faced Jock Peterson and Kevin Pillar. Both got, KP was definitely his teammate because I was there with him. And though he was throwing 80 to 90% effort, everyone who saw him said it looks like patented Jacob deGrom. Now, I can speak from experience. Jacob deGrom never looks like he's throwing more than 80 or 90%. It was still probably 97 miles an hour. And the Texas Rangers need him. Unfortunately, if you go through the Texas Rangers rotation, we have John Gray, who missed time last year. Eovaldi missed time last year. Tyler Mahle has missed a lot of time recently. Jacob deGrom has missed a lot of time. And I think Cody Bradford. I think Cody Bradford's been healthy, but the other 4 haven't as much. So if they're healthy, that is a quality starting rotation. But I could see a world where it could get ugly and ugly fast if some of the guys start falling. So they really need this guy to anchor that rotation. He hasn't thrown more than 100 innings since 2019. So we need you. Jake, I want to watch you pitch. So please drink your Ovaltine / take your vitamins. Okay? Thank you. Speaking of injuries, the Yankees are having quite the week. We have Luis Gil reports shoulder tightness. Giancarlo Stanton's to have an MRI on both of his elbows for his tennis elbow, and he's going to open the season on the IL. Yeah, I saw that coming. And DJ LeMahieu bangs up his calf a little bit. So, are they interested in another DH because of all these things happen? Possibly. I'll tell you about that in one moment. So let's talk about it a little bit. Luis Gil is having an MRI on his shoulder. It looks like it's a shoulder fatigue thing. I haven't heard anything about there being like acute pain or like a front or back or whatever. Sometimes it's dead arm. You just don't, especially in March, you don't mess around with this stuff. So I'm not super worried about that, but he does have a history of injury, and last year was the first time he'd thrown a full season in a while. And that's not what you want to see before the season even gets going. Stanton's going to have the MRI with the elbows. I would just say, they're going to take it week by week, and there's a chance that we get a Giancarlo Stanton, hear nothing about him for 2 months, and then in June he just shows up, kind of like he always does, frankly. But when it comes to LeMahieu's calf, I myself have popped the calf. Speaking after the game, manager Aaron Bowden called the injury at least a little concerning. My guess is probably some version of a calf strain. They're annoying as hell, but it's just you overextend it. I strained my calf playing wiffle ball last year, so I know what that's like. It is annoying, and you don't want to be hobbling around, and then it can cause a lot of like compensation issues, which is, when you're hobbling and you're leaning on the other leg, then suddenly you come back from that and then you blow that one out, and that's not what you want. So DJ's older. He was in the front runner to be the third baseman. Doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point. But can they go get this man, JD Martinez? Remember him? I do. He is truly becoming baseball's gun for hire, the mercenary, the DH. JD Martinez, the Yankees are possibly linked to him. He is looking to sign another one-year deal and go and add a bat. He hit 235, 16 home runs, over 495 plate appearances last year for the Mets, with a 108 weighted runs created plus. So solid, slightly above average hitter, can't hurt you. He's been a DH for a long time. You don't need him in the field. So anyone who needs a DH, there are worse options. So I could definitely see JD Martinez. It's actually surprising he hasn't played for the Yankees yet. So he is in that point in his career. Okay, and then last couple quick things here. Albert Pujols has been announced as WBC manager for the Dominican Republic team. Couldn't have chose a better guy. We've talked a lot recently about whether or not he could be the manager for the Cardinals moving forward. He has been very expressly public about saying he wants to be a manager someday, so I'm all for it. Albert Pujols, congratulations. All-time player. Always enjoyed playing with you. And finally, here on the news, that is not what I meant to put. Finally, here on the news. That's what happens, guys, when you have a little board. You press the wrong button sometimes, but we're getting better at it. This is the second time we've discussed this gentleman, Tony Miserati. He is a radio personality in Boston. You may remember him from our worst Hall of Fame ballots segment from about a month ago, where he voted for Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez only last year as a Red Sox fan. And then now he doesn't get a vote anymore. It wasn't directly because of that. I think it was just a throwaway ballot. But he had some things to say about unanimous number one prospect in baseball right now, Roman Anthony. Let's take a little listen to what he had to say.
Your ass this afternoon.
Okay, so I was scouring the internet. Is that the right word?
Yep.
To find scouting reports on Roman Anthony. Mm-hmm. And I came across one that said Anthony should become an above average outfielder. What do you mean should? What does should mean? Should tells me that he's not good and that he's got to grow into it. This is the guy who's regarded as the number one prospect in the game. How is a guy the number one prospect in the game if his defense sucks? Because that's how I read that. And after watching him play the outfield, he doesn't exactly read the ball off the bat like Ken Griffey Jr. He doesn't. So here's what I want to know. How come nobody ever tells me about the bad stuff? Why do I have to go looking for it? And why, in God's name, do I have to do my own scouting?
Because covering sports in this town has become one big circle session.
That is so annoying to me that nobody anywhere Roman Anthony. Wait till Roman Anthony gets here. Yeah, you're going to love this kid. He's awesome. He's the number one prospect in baseball. Roman Anthony, he can do it all. Except he can't. And you know what I think he is right now? If you were to ask me what he projects to be? A DH? How do I get excited about a prospect who's a DH?
All credit to the Sports Hub for that, by the way, guys. What? Hold on. We got to go big. We're going bigger for this one. We're going big for this one. So here's the deal. I'm looking at chat right now. I understand. The way that media, this whole thing works, I have my own show. I'm like in my own little studio here, right? And the incentive is to get really revved up about things, as revved up as you can, so people will also follow you there. So you take anything you can find that get revved up about, and then you get revved up, and then I get to go and be like, ugh, I'm revved up. Look how dumb that was. Like, and then it's exactly what the circle session is what he called it. That's exactly what it becomes. Let me just bring you back down to earth here. The word should isn't like to deceive you, and it's not also bad. You just thought of it as bad. Everything is should because you have no idea because it hasn't happened yet. It's a prediction. So whenever you're predicting, it's probably pretty good to say, I'm not certain, because you're not. No one is. So that is the scouting report. That's a normal thing that's in scouting reports. I don't know what to tell you. I think that we should be okay with him being a pretty good fielder. Not everyone is the best fielder on the planet. You know, you're not going to get another Nomar every year. Like some guy, not everyone's a 5-tool. Like you're going to get guys who are really good at like 4 things or 3 things, and that makes them the best player in the class in there, because it's not, you know, you don't have you don't have a generational player every year, because then they wouldn't be generational players. So that said, it's a little bit too much energy for me, but you know, I also don't agree. I don't agree. I think he's going to be a really good player. I think we should just give him a chance. People ask me like, hey, do you think the hype for this guy, this prospect coming up is warranted? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't worry about prospects until they're in front of me being really good. Like it doesn't. A wise man once said, it doesn't matter until you do it out there. Can't run it to the plate. So just go pitch. If you pitch good, no one cares what you do. If you hit good and play good, no one cares what you do. And by all accounts, that's what that kid is doing. So anyway, that's crazy, but it's okay. Tony can say whatever he wants. I don't know Tony at all. No ill will. He can say whatever he wants. But that is the nature of unfortunately, that is the nature of media and the world we live in. So I know I still fed it, but you know what? I freaking put the video in and I did the system. So I was going to talk about it. Okay. I did all the work, but you won't see that stuff too horribly much. Okay. Moving back on, we have in our main segment for the day, a new segment. Shout out to Claudia with Foul Territory, little hand claps for you. Named my new segment. And it's awesome. We're going to call it, I'll just show you. Rapsodo and Hawkeye all tell you this information. Paul Skeens has added 2 pitches to his arsenal going into 2025. No! Don't do it! Don't!
Buckle up. It's time for some Maysplaining.
This is Maysplaining. Let me switch this up for you. Welcome to Maysplaining, a new segment here on the show. Well, not new, I guess. It's just normal, but it is what it is. Alrighty. Oh, really quickly before we get in this, they have results for Gil. Thank you so much, Shay. They have results for Gil. High grade lat strains shut down at least 6 weeks. Dang it. Lat strains. Hate those, man. So annoying. So annoying. So annoying. Welcome to Maysplainers. Today on Maysplaining, do hitters actually tell you where to throw it? There was an awesome segment that Pedro Martinez did where he made the argument that there are many hitters that will tell you where they want the ball based on how they waggle the bat. This was put up by Pitching Ninja on Instagram. If you do not follow Pitching Ninja on every social media platform, you should. Rob Friedman is a phenomenal creator, but he's also super curious and into a bunch of nerdy stuff. So if you don't follow him, do it. But Pedro's talking about how he can make decisions or know where guys wanted the ball, where they were trying to hit it, or where they were looking to hit the ball the hardest based on what they did as they got ready in the box. I have some examples here, and I want to see if we can prove it. So I had this idea. Is there proof of this being real? So anyone who's seen me on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN last year, we did a few of the ESPN2 broadcasts, and I have shown off a lot of my heat maps, how I found a hitter's nitro zone. So his nitro zone is based on xwOBA. I'm not gonna explain that to you today. That's a little bit, inside the weeds. But basically what xwOBA does is it gives you an expected how much damage is expected to be put on a pitch and where it is based on how hard they actually hit things. So it takes a lot of things into perspective, and it's not just batting average, but it's just where they hit the ball the hardest. And it's a heat map. It's a box, and you see the red means they hit it the hardest there. So what I did was I found a bunch of guys who do the bat waggle, found where they did the bat waggle, and then we saw, based on their heat maps, for the last 5 years, not just a year, this isn't just a year or a month, last 5 years of at-bats, this is thousands of at-bats, where did they hit the ball the hardest based on bat waggle? And little disclaimer here, real quick. Unfortunately, with the pitch clock, no one can bat waggle anymore. Everyone just gets in the box. So I had to kind of go back into the archives a little bit. So bear with me if you don't see a bunch of your favorite players like Fernando Tatis Jr. or anything, because you have to teleport in the box and just hit, and everyone's just like, boom. So we don't get that as much, and so you have to do it in a different way. But we'll talk about that in just one moment. So first guy on our list, Nelson Cruz. Very interesting. So here's Nelly Cruz. This is Mariners Nelly Cruz. A lot of you may know this. He used to kind of like swing the butt. He'd do this and kind of waggle the bat, wave it over the middle of the zone as you're about to deliver it. Okay. But this is classic. If you remember Nelly, he played a few years ago, so it's not too long ago. But it's right here, top of the zone, middle top of the zone, flat bat across. So he wants to get the bat flat and barrel stuff, right? Where did he actually hit the ball the hardest his last 5 years in the league? Oh. Up middle in the zone, flat bat path. That's literally exactly where his bat was. So I think we can say that's a confirmed. So 1 for 1, Pedro. Check you off the list. Then maybe next up, maybe this guy. We got Mike Trout. So I'm sorry if that's a little hard to see, but his bat's right here. And Trout does this from time to time. He goes over the top more, but he used to do the low, kind of golfy swing low. You guys have seen the top golf when he hit the ball over the net. That's because he can hit the ball hard that way, because he drops the barrel really well. He likes the ball down in the zone. How far down in the zone? Let's see if this is tells us what Mike Trout wants. Huh. That is interesting, Mike Trout. I could say, what do you guys think? Is that a check? That is a check. So 2 for 2 for Pedro. Really doing it right now. What about Albert Pujols? He is one of the most famous bat waggles. The put it here, put it right here. Kind of like you got a ball on a tee. You're like, he used to just do that. Then this is how it was a cue to tell him, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to hit. Now, you're not going to see guys like Euclid and stuff in this because I don't have the heat map data. I was only able to get heat map data back to 2013, guys. So it's after 2013. But this is Albert Pujols. He wanted the ball up. He wanted to extend his hand. So somewhere up here in the zone would be my guess based on this barrel. He does this a lot. He did this all the way to the end of his career. Let's see. You kidding me? Are you kidding? Yeah, okay. 3 for 3. 3 for 3. That is exactly where Albert Pujols wants the ball. Okay, how about some guys who are playing right now? How about some of the power guys from the current game? The guys who hit the ball the hardest. What about these guys? Pete Alonso. You guys know about the Pete Alonso, like, Again, he doesn't quite do it. He does it when he steps out every once in a while, just like to get a feeling of when he wants to break his hand. So like when he gets to the point where it like hits and comes back, that's when he wants to make contact. That's when he's the strongest. Okay, so Pete Alonso used to do that, top of the zone, all the way, and I think it moves all the way down and in. But generally, he doesn't do it anymore when he's in the box because, again, he has to teleport in, remember. We already talked about that. Where's his hot zone? All right, fine, Pedro. What, Pedro, you think you're like one of the greatest pitchers of all time? That's 4 for 4. Okay, how about last year? How about a guy from last year? This is Freddie Freeman. Look, bottom right here. Like right here, right in the zone. Boop-a-doop. If you remember, the Grand Slam was right here. This actually isn't from last year. Well, this is from last year. This is from last season. But we'll see. But generally low. Like, he's Freddie Freeman. He can hit away too, but generally low. Let's see. Okay. 5 for 5. Guys, maybe we should pay attention to this stuff if we're trying to get to the major leagues. Pretty good. Pretty good. They're telling you. They're telling you where you want it based on how they waggle. Now, what if they don't waggle? Because a lot of people don't waggle now. It was kind of hard to find waggles because now the pitch clock, like I mentioned, it's so fast, they don't have time to sit there and just like wait for you to throw the ball because you have to throw the ball every 3 seconds. So how else can you determine where someone wants the ball? Where else would they tell you? Where else could you watch a hitter and determine whether or not they want something outside of like BP or sitting there in their batting practice section? Well, I'll tell you one thing, it's probably in the on deck circle. So I got a few guys from the on deck circle taking their dry hacks, getting ready, getting activated, getting the feel for how they want their swing to go. And we got to obviously do one of the most famous warm-ups on deck circle swings ever. And that's Mr. Hunter Pence. One batting glove on, doing the hips, running the hips, running the hips. Got to run the hips, run the hips. Let's watch it one more time. There's one more swing. Oh, yeah, there you go, Hunter. Nice. So, if you see that, where do you think he wants it? Possibly down and in? Let's see. Six for 6. What about Joey Votto? Let's get you a little bigger version of this. What about Joey Votto? Where do you guys think Joey Votto wants the ball based on that swing? Down? Down middle, maybe? Where you can get the hands extended and then get the ball up front? Joey Votto, where does Joey Votto want it? It turns out it's down middle. Oh my God, 7 for 7. 7 for 7. And I'll be honest, Joey's probably the guy that I saw and paid attention to the most. I acted on that with Joey Votto more than anybody. Two things, by the way. It was where he was swinging and then where he was swinging and then breaking his hands. So because he goes out in front of his body and broke his hands, it means he wants to get the ball out in front. So he wants to catch it out there, right? So what I would do is throw him in with fastball so that he has to kind of get his hands going earlier. Then I throw him a changeup and then he'd break his hands too early and miss it. And he really struggled with my changeup. Really struggled with my changeup. And that's why. I was just like, he wants to hit the ball out there, so I need to push and pull him as opposed to trying to snap off breaking balls because he had such a good eye. So this actually helped. And then I saw this, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then finally, who do we got? The man, the myth, the legend, the big boy, Shohei Ohtani. Look at him. Swinging as hard as he can. Just swinging as hard as he can. I know it's kind of hard to see. This was the best version I could get. But it's kind of just up middle. Basically just like kind of a belt high across the top of the zone, closer to him a little bit. Let's see if the man, the myth, the legend lines up. Jesus Christ. Now he hits everything hard. He hits everything 105. So he's going to have a lot of red. But you could see this part right here is right where he was swinging. And now you know. That's 8 for 8. So, can we say with absolute certainty that Pedro Martinez was not making that up just for content that was real? I think so. I think 8 for 8 is a pretty good indicator that a hitter will show you, based on how they swing, what they're thinking. Now, we've talked about this a lot, so this is for the young guys at home, young players that are trying to learn stuff. You're not going to have data on the other 12-year-old team. Actually, you might. I don't know these days. There's a good chance. But if you don't have data, what can you do? What can you pay attention to? What does a player tell you? Because pitchers do the same thing. Pitchers do the same thing. They throw a pitch, they yank it, or they sail it, or they do something, and they're like, ah! They're telling you that's not where they wanted to throw that. So pay attention to how, not only what they're doing, but how they react, and vice versa. When you're watching a hitter, watch their warm-ups, watch how they waggle the bat through. They'll tell you what they want and what they're most comfortable doing. Whatever you're doing with this is the most comfortable way to move your hands. That could tell you about what type of swing they have and possibly what kind of pitch they're looking for. Looking to hit. Isn't that interesting? Everyone nod. Yes, Trevor, super interesting. All right. Now, I hope that was interesting to you. I thought it would be a good thing to do today. Also, anyone's got any recommendations for things that you want to see in that realm? You want me to break down things or go look it up? Go look up if something's true or not. I love doing it. And that was Maysplaining, your first time here on Mayday, live on the Foul Territory Network channel. Okay, for our next segment is called Going Deep. Now, there was an article recently written by a gentleman. Going deep. Sorry. Okay. Starting over. Going deep. Why starters should throw more innings. Oh, I just heard dozens of ears perk up. There was an argument made recently about the five in diving for starting pitchers kind of not being the best option, and using your bullpen the most isn't actually the best option. And there's actually data to back it up. Now, this article is written by a gentleman named Louis Paulus. If you want to subscribe, this is in his newsletter. And I cannot remember the name of it, and I feel terrible about that, but it will be in the show notes. I'll put the link in there. I'll send it over to the Foul Territory people to get theirs and get in theirs too, and it will be on mine as well. So if you want to subscribe to this letter, he does nerdy analytics, breaking down all kinds of things all across sports and mostly baseball. He has written for Baseball Prospectus, ESPN, and the Philadelphia Inquirer, as well as worked for 4 major league organizations in various capacities, and is currently actually a consultant for someone. So basically, he's able to go, what's our problem? Is this actually happening? And then going and doing research and seeing if it's true or not true, right? And he found some really interesting stuff on the value of a starting pitcher going to deeper into games and actually being able to quantify it. Now, we talk about this a lot. I call this the Jordan Lyles effect, right? Jordan Lyles, for the last few years of his career, was throwing 160 plus innings, but had a 5+ ERA. Like, now you're just not going to be given a job, but every once in a while you throw 9 innings and save the bullpen, which would pay dividends for his team into the future. How much dividends? We don't know. We didn't know until now. Okay. So Louis basically wrote this in response to the 6-inning rule that was proposed last season. Actually, early in this offseason, right? The 6-inning rule. So the 6-inning rule is something that was talked about by the league they want to make starting pitchers get to the 6th inning. And if you don't, you penalize the team. They want to incentivize starters throwing deeper into games. They think that throwing deeper into games will also take one nasty reliever out of the game and increase offense. I mean, yeah, that's logical, but there's a lot of moving parts there, a lot of variables that I think wouldn't work that straightforward, and that's probably why this rule hasn't been put in place. But the gist is, starting pitchers, they should have to throw 6 innings. Exceptions to that rule, though, are if a pitcher throws under pitches, if a pitcher gives up 4 or more earned runs, or a pitcher sustains an injury, including, but if they sustain an injury, you can't fake it. You got to go on the IL. And for pitchers, that is 15 days, I believe. So you're going to miss half a month to fake something, and no one wants to do that just so you can get a reliever in 2 outs earlier. That's dumb. So these are the caveats. These are the only ways to get them out before that. But if not, you got to get through the 6th inning, no matter how bad you are doing or how hard you are getting hit. Now, the 4+ earned runs, like, it's probably actually wouldn't come up that much. But like, if you're struggling, you tend to throw more pitches or you tend to give more runs. So one of those two things probably would happen. But if they don't, you're forcing a guy to get out there. Now, the goals of this whole rule is to restore the prominence of the starting pitcher. That's more exciting to watch. Also, there's less pitching changes. The game goes faster. That's something that we've been trying to do too. So it kind of kills 2 birds in that way. And like I said before, as a guy gets tired, he reduces the strikeouts and then more people hit the ball. That's what's being proposed. That's what they think would happen if this were put into play. But there are a few problems with that, in my opinion. Okay. So more likely, and Louis in his article proposes these things. The 3 main things that would probably happen are it would disrupt the balance between hitting and pitching. So it would artificially extend starts. It would flip back towards offense so fast, like that inning would get so ugly that it would actually extend games, which would hurt. You know, the game will get longer and the guy's out there struggling, but he has to get to the 100 pitches. Now the thing's slowing down and things are getting really ugly, right? The quality of the game would probably go down in those situations if we're in that gray area, those last 10 pitches where they're just gassed, but they can't get through it. Everyone thinks they should be able to get through it. Doesn't matter what you think they should be able to do. It's whether or not they can or not. All right? It would probably increase production, sure, but potentially in unintended ways. You can't guess how it's going to change it. It would probably cause more injuries. Guys would have to go deeper without being in shape enough for that. I mean, anytime guys need to throw more pitches or more innings, the chances they get hurt go up. That's just logical. But it might compromise the sport's integrity because what teams are really good at doing is finding ways around rules like this, right? So you might see things like you might see like them walking it, like they want to get their starter out of there, and it's a you know, they're up 8-3 or 8-4, and so they walk in a run with the bases loaded to give him a 4th run so they can get him out of there or something, right? Like you could see little stupid stuff like that happening just so they can fulfill one of the requirements, hurt the pitcher, but then be able just to move forward. No one wants to see that. That happens once, it would suck. I would hate that so much. Paul Sporer also in the chat here on Twitch. Thank you so much. It's called the Lose Letter, guys. The Lose Letter. Get it, Louis? His name's Louis Paulus. So the Lose Letter, if you just type in the Lose Letter on Google, you'll be able to find it. It's a great subscription. I'm subscribed now and getting all the articles. We'll warn you. It gets a little academic. So that's why I'm here. And I hope Louis is okay with me breaking through it. But please go hit him with a subscription. He does this at a kind of start. He just likes to do it. And he made a great argument for this. Okay. So the weird thing is it's strikeouts. It's always strikeouts, right? The reason starting pitchers do not go deeper into games is because everyone wants to strike people out. Why do we like strikeouts so much? It's because it's a 0 value outcome, right? It is very hard to score a run when you strike out. Very hard, almost impossible. You might assume. So if you want to never give up any runs, you just strike everybody out. Now, does that extend games and make everyone throw more pitches? Sure. But if you're just going to cycle through your whole bullpen every day, who cares? And that's kind of what we've turned into a little bit. We have turned into that a little bit. So it's done 2 things. Pitchers throw at max effort, so they tire more quickly. Starters are doing it too because everyone wants a job. And they're only going to have to throw 5 innings, so might as well do it. Pitchers throw at max effort. And because pitchers throw at max effort, these pitchers get pulled earlier, increasing bullpen usage, increasing strikeouts because you have more guys that throw with better stuff, which then creates more strikeouts, which then ruins offense some more, which makes the game longer, which kind of works against you. So if we're all going for strikeouts, the game gets less fun to watch overall. You guys agree? I agree. I think that it hits it on the head. So what do we do? What changes we do? So here's a graph. I'll show you the big one here. This is ERA for the bullpen as the starting pitcher gets more outs. So there's a couple interesting things here. One, this little part, I believe this is from 2020. It's 2022 to 2024. So we had openers a lot. So openers account for this like solid. These are relievers a lot more. And then it goes starter. And then the longer the starter goes into the game, the better your bullpen ERA gets until you get to the ninth inning, and then it falls off a cliff because that's when your closer comes in. So keep this in mind. The later into the game, the more often you get your best pitchers. So that's going to affect this to a level. But if you don't account for the closer, just take that out because it's obvious. And then the openers, if you took the openers out, this would be a steady line going down. So the deeper into you go into the game, the better your bullpen performs overall. Because you only have to use your best pitchers too. So it's kind of a two-sided coin. This all makes sense to me. Actually, I'm going to go back to that real quick and I'll let you study it. So there are a few big trends from Louis. This is really interesting. Like he wanted to find basically what's the instead of the 5-inning rule or the third time through the order rule, what's the perfect amount of innings? What's the perfect number of outs you want to get from your starting pitcher so that your bullpen's the best it can be and your starter's the best it can be? Like what inning is where it switches from the starter ERA jumps above what the normal reliever ERA is? That's the way he thought about it. Like in this inning, relievers usually have this ERA and starters usually have this ERA if they're pitching in it. And it turns out it's that inning you would think it would be. It's the 6th. So here's a couple of data points. Starters pitching at least 5.2 innings result in a lower bullpen ERAs. Basically, if your team has starters average 5.2 innings as a whole, bullpen ERAs are 3.8 or lower, mostly. Starts at 15 outs, 5 innings correlate to a 4 bullpen ERA. When starting pitchers, so 6 innings, the bullpen ERAs were 3.71. Now, again, you're having your best pitchers in, so it lowers it by 1/3 of a run. That's a lot. Based on how it was kind of broken out, each additional out recorded by the starter improves the bullpen ERA by 4 points or 12 points per extra innings pitched. So on average, bullpen ERAs improved for every single out the starting pitcher got. Of course, we get diminishing returns at some point, but it is what it is. So there's another little positive thing he found. Each additional inning pitched by a starter reduces the next day bullpen ERA. So not even that game, the next game. So if a guy throws 7 innings, your bullpen ERA goes up 1/3 down a run on the next day on average. So not only are you saving your bullpen that day, you're saving your bullpen the next day to get a little bit deeper into games. I'll let you chew on that for a second. Over a season, this equates to roughly half a WAR in total value, which if you put it in dollar forms, a team can save $3.5 million by throwing their starting pitcher a little bit longer. Hear that, Jerry? Hey, look at you. So you save your bullpen that day and you save your bullpen the next day. It turns out that the 6th inning starting pitching has a 4 ERA. What was that? Hold on, I have it right here. Let me find it again. A 4 ERA. Okay, yeah. An actual MLB wide ERA for starters in the 6th inning was a 4.14. For relievers, it was a 4.7 in the 6th inning. So starting pitchers have better ERAs in the 6th inning than relievers did overall in those 3 years. So the 6th inning is when this needs to be transitioned, not the 5th time through the lineup. So we think that the starting pitchers were too cautious with them, and that is the argument that Louis makes at the end of the day. And he gave some suggestions on what we can do to improve the length of a starter's outing. Okay, starters should do these things: induce weak contact, hold secondary pitches to later innings, and pace themselves rather than maxing out velocity. AKA playing baseball in the 90s, or the 2000s. Like, this is what it used to be. Before there were guns everywhere, before we had TrackMan, this is what we were doing. And we need to go back to that. But the reason we go back to that is because we need to incentivize throwing deeper into games. And how do we do that? You let your pitcher go deeper, and then we got to find a way to factor in starters consistently pitching deeper into games and valuing that into pitcher WAR. And it's not. Right now, the number of innings you throw on average in a start isn't get factored into pitcher WAR at all, and therefore isn't getting them paid. So, if we add length of starts into the way we statistically analyze starting pitchers and value them for that, because going 6 innings makes your bullpen better and your team better generally. The teams that have that win more. They just do. And now we know it's quantitative. There's numbers that tell us. We need to incentivize starting pitchers doing that and bringing it back a little bit. I think the pendulum swung one way to the pitcher side. Now we need to get back to the middle. And this will do a few things. This will do things for the game. I think we'll kill a bunch of birds with one stone. Starters would be incentivized to do all the things that I just said. Like, for example, Paul Skeens is doing it. He added 2 more fastballs. He now throws 3 fastballs. He wants to get guys out earlier in games. He doesn't want to strike everybody out. He can, and he will strike out as many as he can, but he doesn't have to, and he'll go deeper into games. That's exactly why he added 2 fastballs, is so that he could do everything we just said. But overall, what Louis believes, and I believe, I agree, is there will be fewer strikeouts, more balls in play, and a more entertaining game. So we'll get more offense. At least we'll get more balls in play. That doesn't mean it'll be better offense, but there will be stuff happening, which is actually what we want, right? It's okay if they're still outs, but I would like it to be put in play as opposed to seeing 12 pitches to get 1 strikeout. More efficient bullpen management, reducing reliever burnout. I love that thing. Yeah, yes, I do. And better long-term success by optimizing run-preventing strategies. So basically, if a pitcher starts and goes deeper into a game, you actually make your team better, and the data supports it. So actually getting into the 3rd time through the order, at least for a few hitters, makes your team better long-term if you're able to do it. And so we should be developing young guys to do that. And everything else will just kind of take care of itself. So we won't have to institute a 6-inning rule to artificially bring the game back a way we want it to go. Instead, we just incentivize the right things, and we can use numbers to tell the numbers people that it's actually a good idea, and they'll just do it. And that's what you guys should do. Please give starting pitchers some love when they go deep into games, as yours truly, a ex-relief pitcher. When in doubt, leave the starter in. Boom! Thoughts? Let me know down in the comments. I got to know in the YouTube comments what you guys think, in the chats what you guys think. That concludes our first hour of the show. I really appreciated being here, and everyone over there at Foul Territory. All love, be safe, and I'll see you in just a moment over on the Trevor May Baseball channel. After this break, obviously, because, I got to take a drink of water. So be right back.